I didn't expect a whole lot going into State of Play. I never do these days. And when I saw the same people claiming that there was going to be some 2.5 Metroidvania God of War game shown off at this State of Play, you know, just like how they said at the last State of Play there was going to be a 2.5D Metroidvania God of War game, and that never happened, I just kind of tapped out of all the rumors and stuff. These shows are always the same. It's just a bunch of wishful thinking in the days before, and then you watch the show, and it's just a bunch of third-party stuff while Sony sits on their giant pile of money and continues to do absolutely nothing with their first-party IP that got them said pile of money. So I went into this show with extremely low expectations, and I walked away from the show surprised. My expectations for the next State of Play will be a 3 out of 10 instead of a 2 out of 10. Which is saying something. So let's just go over the highlights real quick and we can get everyone on the same page about this thing, and I can get into my extended thoughts. But to give you the little TLDR, I do think this show was an indication that Sony has at least some idea of what people want, or at least they're starting to notice that it might be lame of them to just sit on their giant pile of first-party IP without doing anything with it. But I'm not prepared to say they're completely back on track. I think they're inching towards a better place, but we'll see how long that inching continues before they get arrogant again and just start not doing anything like they've done for most of the PS5 generation. So to answer the question in the title of this video, does Sony finally get it? No. If they've been operating at like a D-, they're probably now at like a D, maybe a D+, edging on C-. I guess that's something. Also, pulling up the VOD is funny to me because I thought this was one of the better State of Plays in a while, but the like to dislike ratio still isn't amazing and the comments are largely negative, and we'll get into why. I have plenty of theories as to why. I just think it's funny because I was thoroughly unimpressed with the last State of Play, and people yelled at me for not thinking that was one of the better ones, but now here I am thinking this was one of the better ones, and people are yelling at Sony for it. I just think it's funny. The roles are flipped. I'm not entirely sure what happened. I have theories, but we'll get into that as we go along. So the show opens with a in-depth look at Saros, the Returnal spiritual successor / sequel, and I actually don't know if they're in the same canon or not, and that looks pretty interesting. I think Returnal is one of Sony's better PS5 exclusives out of the, 4 that they have. But I appreciate Sony putting lots of effort and marketing juice into something so gameplay-centric like this. I appreciate that. I really do. My biggest issue with Sony recently, and a lot of people's big issues with Sony recently, is how unconcerned they seem to be with gameplay. So I appreciate them opening up the State of Play with an in-depth look at this very gameplay-focused experience. We'll see how many people on the PlayStation base actually play this. I have a gut feeling it's not going to be that many of them, but I guess we'll see. After that, we had a bunch of third-party stuff sprinkled in with a Microsoft Flight Simulator announcement, which I thought was a very bizarre choice for an Xbox port, but, I guess Microsoft is gonna get that bread one way or another? Question mark? I mean, out of all of your IP to bring to PlayStation, you chose Flight Simulator? Okay. All right, whatever you say, I guess. And there was some interesting stuff in all the third-party trailers. I think Neo 3 looks interesting. I think Halloween the game looks interesting enough to someone who doesn't really jive with asymmetrical multiplayer games like this, but this one looks like it has some cool ideas. I did get a little chuckle when we moved over to the, what was it called? The Pulse Elevate wireless speakers. Oh, Sony. Boy, do you know what the people want. Hey, can we have Last of Us Factions? Hey, can we have a remaster of God of War? Hey, can we have some update on all the first party IP? Well, no, but you can have these speakers. Thank you, Sony, for inventing speakers. I think that's what makes me laugh the most about stuff like this, is Sony always acts like they invented whatever they're showing off. Like with Returnal, they were acting like they invented roguelikes, and now here they are acting like they invented fancy Bluetooth speakers. It's like, guys, they're just speakers. It's not that serious. You didn't have to spend 5 hours explaining what speakers are. Then there was some update on The Last of Us Day, because, this is definitely a great time for you to be milking The Last of Us and not introducing anything new with it. Fantastic timing for that. You can definitely read the audience here. It's not like Naughty Dog's been working on something else that you could have talked about, but, there's always next year. Then they showed off what they're doing for the 20th anniversary of God of War. This was what the insiders were going nuts for. All the insiders, the gaming insiders, the super amazing gaming leakers, they were telling you that for the 20th anniversary of God of War, there could be a remastered collection, there'd be a 2.5D Metroidvania spin-off set in the Greek era. Get excited, guys. Sony's bringing back God of War, and it starts with this cool epic cinematic that looks like it's gonna be something really cool. Oh my god, what are they doing? Oh, and it's a controller. It's a God of War controller. That's what they're doing for the 20th anniversary. It's just a controller. Sony, you've done it again. And then, of course, the show ends with the Wolverine trailer, which about flippin' time we saw that thing. And I mean, frankly, I think Wolverine looks really fun. I think it looks really solid. I think this looks significantly better than what leaked. And I also weirdly appreciated how video gamey the combat sections look, if that makes sense. Like this one section where Wolverine just like jump snaps to a guy 50 feet away so he can get into the combat. Frankly, that made me excited. That made me happy. Because that reassured to me that this is going to be a video game and not just a movie trying desperately to fit into the video game category. And then the show ended and people started sharing their opinions online like I'm doing right now. And do you see what I mean when I say that this really wasn't that great of a show, but it was at least a better show, and I feel like it's at least getting things in the right direction. Because like after the show ended, everyone was raving about Wolverine, and rightfully so. They spent a lot of time on Wolverine. It's the first time Sony's really put a lot of juice into a first-party IP like this, at least from one of their big studios. I know there's been Saros, but that's one of the smaller games. I know there's been Ghosts of Yotei, but that's a sequel that's coming out in like a week. People have been looking to the future, like what are we getting from the future aside from these super heavily scripted cinematic sequences like what we got from the Interstellar trailer. People want to see what the PS5 is actually going to give them in terms of first-party gameplay, and that's what Wolverine and Saros, that's what those two trailers showed, and I appreciate that. I want to see what Sony's actually putting all this money towards in terms of gameplay. I don't give a fuck how good their character models look. I don't give a fuck how well they can pre-render trailers that don't actually show you what the gameplay is going to be like. I want to see the gameplay. And in terms of first-party gameplay offerings, I think this state of play was a step up. But that being said, it was a step up because there were precisely 2 pieces of first-party gameplay. And that's why I can't say this is better than a 3 out of 10 in terms of future expectations. I would like to remind you of, what was it, State of Play or the showcase back in what, 2018, 17, where they showed off God of War and Horizon, and Spider-Man, and Last of Us 2. People act like we expect too much from Sony, but it's like, no, people expect a lot from Sony because they've proven to be capable of giving you a lot. They have a lot of studios, a lot of first-party IP. Obviously, those studios are not just sitting around doing nothing all day. Show us what they're doing. Obviously, Santa Monica Studios is not just sitting around doing nothing. Why don't you show us what they're doing? Naughty Dog earlier this year was talking about how great the Interstellar gameplay looks and how Interstellar just plays amazingly. Okay, why don't you show us? People are annoyed, and myself included, at how much juice Sony puts into their own first-party IP, how much they market their platform based on their own first-party IP. They take advantage of you with their game pricing, with their console pricing, with their subscription pricing, because it's all going to be worth it because of their first-party IP. And then when you tune into their streams with the PlayStation branding, PlayStation Studios branding, all you ever seem to get nowadays is third-party stuff that has nothing to do with the money that Sony has been taking from you and the studios that they've been holding under their umbrellas doing fuck all, apparently. And it's just extra frustrating seeing stuff like the God of War controller. Like, dude, you're right there. You are right there. And how is it possible that a company like Sony, who is so obsessed with remakes and remasters and re-releasing games a year after they come out, 2 years after they come out, but then you have a big 20th anniversary trailer for God of War, one of your flagship franchises, 20th anniversary, and the way you acknowledge it is a controller? What? How is it possible that The Last of Us 2 gets a remaster like 2 or 3 years after the game comes out, but God of War on its 20th gets a controller? That's why people are annoyed, and that's why I feel like Sony is inching towards understanding, but they're not there yet. They're clearly not there yet. They're inching towards understanding that people might be getting annoyed at them constantly focusing on CG trailers, on their graphics over their gameplay, and in the process of inching towards understanding, they've shown off Saros, a game with great graphics and a very gameplay first structure. They showed off Wolverine, a game that looks very pretty, but also clearly doesn't care about sacrificing realistic immersion for the sake of the gameplay, which is what you are there for. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that there was no just CGI trailer milking for these two first-party games. But the reason why I'm still hesitant to say Sony is on the right track is because that was just 2 games. Also, not to be that guy, but fall 2026? Just fall? That doesn't make me confident. This game was revealed 4 years ago. So the gap between reveal and release is 5 years, and you still can't put a release date on it? Yeah, this shit's getting delayed. It never makes me confident when a game has been in the works for as long as something like Wolverine has, and then they finally drop a release date, and the release date isn't actually a release date. That doesn't exactly make me confident, especially with the utter lack of first-party single-player IP that have been coming out of Sony this generation. I don't like the example this is setting for the rest of the AAA industry, and this doesn't exactly make me confident that any of your other first-party IP are going to be coming out with any semblance of expedience at this point. If you waited this long to show off the release window for Wolverine, and it's not even a date, my goodness, how long are you going to be waiting for other stuff? So overall, I think this was one of the better state of plays of the last few years, but that being said, I still don't think it's a great indication of what's to come. I think there were some good things in there, but I'm not confident that Sony's bad habits are really being broken right now. I feel like they're starting to dip their toe into the pool of breaking bad habits, but I don't think these bad habits are actually broken yet. And what I'm actually really worried about is that if these 2 games do really well, or if Sony has a good year, why would they break the bad habits? And that brings up the bad example that it sets for the rest of the AAA industry. Because Sony's bad habits are the industry's bad habits, the AAA industry's bad habits. Overpricing of overly cinematic games, gameplay taking a backseat, graphics taking priority over optimization and performance. It stinks, and I don't like them. Alright, those are my thoughts. Doofus Club time. Official Drags, Die Puppeteer, Elite, Nate, Showbiz, NCNA, Hammer Smash Their Heads, Killed Them All, Fuck Ubisoft, Max the chillest of all Zards, Vector, Vendetta Autry, Kevdog, 1992, Mechanical Resonance, Sick Nick, Ed Omega, Mad Fox, 94, XJ Induction, Piplup and Bowler Hat, Biscuit 1101, Seller Out, Bear Brain, Max Killer, VCU Gaming, Stick Rider, Broken Crayon, Pro Rifle, The Rat King, okay, Pope Raphael the Rat King, No Motorcycle Yet, just got my first card, Devastator 2000, Jake Spider Monkey 1994, hashtag ban JTech TV, Schmo from Seattle's The Schmitz, Chris Void, Vast Dennis, Rip Charlie, Gaming with Dead People, Muskie, Big Fudge, Punch, Rock, Groin, Dude, Shut the Fuck Up, Your Little Kid, Wings, Klepto Penguin, The Judge, 6, Multi, The Beastums, Really Zerd, Oracle, Charlie King, But Is Upside Down, Blast 1314, Jimmy Chops, Hell Stuck in the Dryer, Step Joe, Master Killer, Firestorm 2056, Demetrius Papagiorno, Tom Snorlax, and Dan Porter Bridges, Unknown 186718, Letter H. The letter H. I call my GF bracelet because of what she likes in bed. Epion 504. Grimsy, Ed Shadow Bear 1789. Cute Good, Unicorn Raku, Benefondu. Oh no, it's Klutzy Frittata of the Rage from Seattle. Some dig at Charlie Kirk that I'm not going to read because, dude, have some fucking class about the situation. Like, genuinely, come on. Fucking come on. T-Train Rising Around Non-Vola, High, Partial Main 8, Vox Auto, Codman 4372WX, The Game at 127YT, Alderotha 1, Doug Nigsy Smiled, Snake Eyes 227, Game Mirror Word 72, MK2396E, Hentai X Machina Gamma, Fire Hazard 105, Tag Gaming, Jungle Zone, Some Jim, Lord Bowser II, Joe Laughs at Us in the Moat, Gay Local Adult with Autism, PC Gaming, Jessica Shepard, Ricky Spower, Richie Kitabi, Autonomic Dog 49, Creamy the Steel Angel. This isn't a boat-mobile, it's a Joe-mobile. Vroom. Sergeant Jason Bond, Baron Von Vonderheim, Sire 6771, Jujax 940, Yeller. Yup, Creed Warrior 23, Max Chev, Simply the Chat, Totally Insane, Black Crow with the Animal Slayer, Night of Cypher, ML04, Ion 6, Copies of Click, 2006 on Blu-ray, Wolf of Midnight, Big Venus, Steve Wynn Studios, Film Kraken, Ohm Gaming, Treat, Brown, Thorns Game, Magnet, Severn, Evans, Mr. Spino 3, It's the Carolina Finger YMX, or Pow Pow, Donnie Weston, Nick, Gob Godson, Rogue Witch 19, Zank Thane, Candy Getting Fanny, Hanging Out for Hire, Elden Noble, Frost Crystal, Biogenesis, Floppy Pinkus 97, Mega Key, Scorpius Go, Ghost Ho, Ryosagi, Vasco, Access Him, Amoset 94, Blue Hook, The Windy Wank, and Mr. Techno Squeak, Jody Peters, Smitty, Reggae Man, Jensen, Big Advertisement, Jerry Garcia, Kibikins, I American Idiot, Harmon Smith, and the Chin, Uno's Justin, Ranroot, Toonie Winnix, 3 Wolf 7, Smelling, Wrestling Geek, Retro, Wannabe Hubba, Judge, West Bill, Regen Shar, Rob Z, Veg, Goopin, and Kurt Announced Back, Saw High, then it's not a joke, Skis, a Joing 747. I just walked across my room making that noise. I hope you're happy with the things that I do for you. Okay. Toodles.